What's up, everybody? This is Daniel Tillman and my lovely wife,
I am Kendra Tillman.
and we lead a marriage ministry called Living Well Today Marriage. We are also leaders at Faith Christian Center, where we support our small group marriage leaders. And at the church, you might hear it by the name Hub Leader. When they're talking about marriage, you might hear the word Hub Leader.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be us. They'll be talking about us. So we are very excited about this semester.
Yes.
And, I think this is a very appropriate category or topic to
Mm-hmm.
discuss for this semester because we're in the midst of a pandemic
Yeah.
that has really wreaked havoc on marriages, not just in the US, but just across the world. Pick up any newspaper or read any
Mm-hmm.
article online,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll hear about the just kind of the havoc that's going on in marriages. And we just know some, personal friends and family that have been going through some stuff
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to this topic. So we think it's critical, we think it's crucial,
Yes.
and the right time to take a semester and talk about it
Absolutely.
and
And
how
help all of us get better at it,
help
right?
all of us get better at it.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes, because we're all a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
So how are we going to do that this semester?
So we are really excited because we are going to be your guides a little bit over the course of this semester. You will each week when you meet for your small group discussions, we will be a part of that. So you'll get to we'll talk to you from video, and then you as a group will come together and you'll have a discussion around that led by your small group leader. So we are ready to just kind of
Right
dive
in.
on into this, right?
Right in, right
All
in.
right.
This semester we have Dr. Les and Leslie Parrott to
Mm-hmm.
kind of guide us through this topic.
Mm-hmm.
And the book that we're going to use this semester is The Good Fight: How Conflict Brings Us Closer.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a strange,
Yeah, yeah. We don't always think about
sounds like an
conflict in that.
oxymoron.
Yeah, we don't always think about the fact that conflict can actually bring us closer together. And that's why what we're going to be talking about is so important because the question is not whether we will have conflict in our marriage, but it's how do we deal with the conflict when it comes,
Yes,
right?
yes, right.
And so that conflict can either pull us further apart in our marriage or
Mhm.
it can bring us closer together. And so this semester, what we're hoping is to give you some tools to equip you with some information that is going to help you fight a good fight so that you can grow closer together in your marriage
Right. So
relationship.
you got the good fight on one hand,
Mm-hmm.
and you got what on the other hand?
The bad
The
fight.
bad fight, right? There's good and then there's bad.
Yes, yes.
And the analogy I like to use is with a brick, right?
Mhm.
A brick is neutral.
Yes.
Conflict is really neutral, right?
Mhm.
It's not meant to destroy you or
Build you up.
build you up.
Yeah.
It's all about how you approach it,
Yeah.
and how you resolve it,
Mhm.
right? Because you can use a brick to build a house,
Mhm.
or you can use a brick to bash somebody in the head.
Yeah.
Right. And one of them, you build this shelter to shelter
Mhm.
you from all the storms of life and all of
Mhm.
that. And the other one you kill somebody with.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, that's just so funny to me. The analogy, I like it because there is a scripture in Proverb that talks about a wise woman builds her house with both hands. And so we are either building our homes or we are tearing them down with the words that we say, the way that we interact with each other, the way that we work through conflict, right? And so
Yes.
that is why this is so important. And so what Daniel and I want to do in this particular session with you all today, we are going to talk about chapter 1 of the book. And in chapter 1, we're talking about what most couples don't know about conflict. So you are going to be way ahead of what most couples know by the time we finish this chapter today. So there's 3 different insights that we want to share with you from this particular chapter. So one of the first things that we want to share with you is the fact that why learning to fight a good fight matters. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because again, the difference between a marriage that grows happier and one that's miserable is not whether they fight,
Right.
but it's how they fight. Because not all fights are created equal. A good fight is helpful and not harmful. So, what we wanted to do was we wanted to talk about a common fight or argument or disagreement, conflict that has come up frequently for us in our marriage, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the conflict that we want to talk about.
So why we want to do that?
Because we want to give them an example
A
that they can
real
use.
life
Right. We
example
want to give them a real life example
into our life
Yes.
that we're going to work through like right now
Yeah.
or
So
talk through.
y'all don't judge us now, right? Don't judge us. Okay, so the conflict, a common conflict, something that is reoccurring in our relationship
Mhm.
is that sometimes, many times, if I'm being honest, I feel like you don't always know mentally what's going on with our kids. Like I feel like a lot of the mental responsibility for what's happening with our children kind of falls on me,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
And so where my frustration comes in is that I feel like, okay, of course you're capable of knowing these things and knowing this information, but you're just choosing not to, right? So that, so my frustration becomes, why aren't you more involved with the responsibility, the load of all the things that it
So
takes
talk to me a
with
little
the
bit
kid?
more about how that makes how you feel about it.
Yeah, I feel frustrated. I feel
Okay.
very frustrated. And honestly, sometimes I just feel resentful because I feel like there's like, so we have a 12-year-old son, right?
Mhm.
So we have two a young adult son and daughter, but then we also have a 12-year-old who is still very much dependent on us, right? And so he's in school full time, right? And
Mhm.
there's requirements and things that the teacher is asking for and needing. There's things that he needs to get done, even like him getting ready in the morning. He's not like a super organized kid. So I feel like a lot of times the weight and the responsibility of making sure that he's ready and out the door, or knowing what's happening at school with him, a lot of that falls on me. And that
Mhm.
you wouldn't really know what was going on if I had to like leave town suddenly, right? If I
Mhm.
had to leave town and I didn't give you any instruction, you wouldn't know what to do. I mean, of course you could figure out what to do, so that's not necessarily true, but you would you wouldn't be able to just pick up where I left off because you're not as focused on that and you don't know as much about what's happening as I do, which is very frustrating for me because I feel like it kind of wears me out mentally a little bit.
Um, okay.
Mhm.
Um, what do you want me to say with that?
I
And
just want you to
my
respond to it.
response on it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I feel like there's an assumption being
Mm.
made
Mm-hmm.
when you say you wouldn't be able to do
Yeah.
XYZ.
Yeah.
In my mind and in
Mm-hmm.
my heart, I feel like I would
Okay.
be able to step in
Well, why do you feel that way?
because I'm around. I
Mm-hmm.
hear what's going on. I know the structure of the school and what they
Mm-hmm.
expect, and
Mm-hmm.
that it's a rigorous
Yeah.
curriculum.
Yeah.
And community.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were out of the picture on vacation, gone somewhere. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say you're out for 3 weeks, whatever it is. Then it's a conversation between me and Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
It is, a perusal, me perusing his Google
Drive. Oh,
Classroom,
Google Classroom. Yeah.
and maybe an email or a call to the
Mm-hmm.
teacher
Mm-hmm.
if I don't, if I'm not in tune to what's going on for that
Yeah.
week,
Yeah.
right? And if you are not around,
Yeah.
then
Okay.
I have to step into
Yeah.
that.
If I'm not around, you have to step into it.
Yes.
Why do I have to not be around for you to step into it? Why
Um,
can't you just decide to step into it now while I am around?
uh, because you click into it and you click in a lot faster than I do.
Mhm.
So
Well, but that's a choice,
yeah,
though.
it is a choice.
Okay,
It
so
is
why don't you
exactly a choice.
choose to click in
But I
faster?
don't think we both need to be clicking in on that. I
I
don't.
disagree. I
Okay. All
disagree.
right.
I think that we
Then
should. I feel like we're both his parents
yes.
and we both should be equally involved in what's happening with
So
him.
I think we are involved.
Mhm.
Let's say for instance, when Nathan was in school
Mhm.
and he was playing basketball,
Mhm.
right? I was clicked into the basketball,
Yeah.
right? You were
Yeah.
clicked into the
Yes.
classroom.
Yes.
So anything he needed to do for extracurricular, it was me.
Yes.
Anything you needed to do for the classroom, it was
Yes.
you,
Yes.
right?
But that's not happening with Jonathan, though.
Well, he's not necessarily playing soccer right now, but when he does play
But when he
soccer,
does play soccer, I am the one
you
who
will schedule
registered
it.
him for
Yes,
soccer.
right. You will
Yes,
register,
yes.
and I am the one that will take him. That
Mhm.
will, make sure that he's getting done what he needs to do there.
Yeah.
Because I'm more athletically in tune to
Mhm.
whatever. I care more about that than you do.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Okay.
Right. So that's how I feel. I feel like we balance each other that way.
Mhm.
And I feel like if I was not there for soccer, then you would do it. You wouldn't have as much passion about it as I do, but
Yeah.
you would do it because
Yeah.
you want him to be off the computer and be
Mhm.
active. And that's why you would do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess like for me, like what I'm saying is I feel like a lot of the responsibility around whatever it is that he needs,
Mhm.
it becomes on me.
Okay.
And that is sometimes it's just exhausting.
I hear
It's
you.
too much, you
Okay.
know.
Okay.
So
I can do better there.
yeah.
And so will you give me some credit in
Yes.
that
Yeah.
whenever you do call it out? I remember a
Yes,
night when you were like,
absolutely.
Daniel, I'm done. And I took over.
Yeah. Cause I was
Right.
like, I cannot. I
Yeah.
cannot.
Yeah. I took over.
Yeah.
And then you got your energy back. And then
Mhm.
I went back to being
Yeah.
without allowing you to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So we are going to pause this part of our conversation here because as we move through some of the other insights in this particular chapter, we're going to come back and talk a little bit about this and how we can work through this particular issue that we are facing, right?
Okay.
Okay. So we talked about why learning to fight a good fight matters. Again, we said that was because the difference between a marriage that grows happier
Mhm.
and one that's miserable is not whether we fight, but how we fight.
How we fight.
So we
yes.
could attack each other.
Yep.
I could tell you, you don't do anything to help me with Jonathan.
Yep.
Why am I the one who does everything and you do nothing?
Right.
You know, it's not fair that I'm doing this and you're doing nothing. You're not helping me. You're not supporting me. Right.
Yeah. So
And
just a couple things on what you're
Mhm.
saying there. Like, yes, when you start hurling comments,
yeah.
And we'll talk about this
Yeah.
As we go through here. I
Mhm.
think we would bring it up. At least I have it in my notes.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that is the most toxic
Mhm.
when it comes. And you've probably, if you've read chapter 1, you already have read
Yes.
this.
Yes.
One of
Yeah.
the things that's the most toxic, and Dr. Gottman he talked to Dr. Gottman about
Mhm.
this, is contempt,
Mhm.
which means you belittle your spouse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You say things
yeah.
like,
yeah.
maybe I didn't help you in this situation,
Yeah.
but then you say, well, you never helped.
And you never helped me.
Right. Which says that, you're purposely
Mhm.
stepping out on me.
Yeah.
Or not giving your all.
Yeah.
So those little things are very toxic when it comes to a discussion or a
Mhm.
disagreement.
Yes.
You can't get on the same page.
Yeah.
When contempt is there.
Yeah. And one of the things like that kind of actually moves us to our next topic that we wanted to talk about, our next insight from this particular chapter is about what do you think is at the heart of every bad fight? So when there is a bad fight that's happening in your relationship
Mhm.
where you aren't respecting each other, where
Yep.
you aren't trying to come together, what is at the heart of that? What do you think?
So I go to scripture that calls this out blatantly. Proverbs 13:10 is really the foundation of what we're discussing here. And that is pride.
Yes.
Leads to conflict.
Pride leads to conflict.
Pride leads to conflict. So that is the stem, right, of out of which conflict grows.
Yeah. And one of the things that I like that they talk about when they talk about pride in the book, they talk about the fact that a prideful spirit keeps us from cooperating, flexing, respecting, compromising, and resolving. Right.
Yes. And before we go any further there, so I like to make the distinction. He also calls it out in the book that there's two types of pride. One is self-conceited. Yeah. Right. Self-centered.
Yeah.
Thinking too
Self-centeredness.
highly of your own opinion.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas the other one is like pride in country, pride in family.
Yeah.
Those
You
are two
feel
different
proud,
things,
yeah,
right?
of those things. Yeah.
But the one we're talking about is the self-centered,
Yes.
the one where you think more highly of your opinion than anybody else's.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, okay.
And that's why I was talking about a prideful spirit keeps us from cooperating, flexing. We know what cooperating means, but what does flexing mean?
So flexing, your ability to flex is your
Mhm.
ability to allow others to give
Mhm.
you input and for
Yes.
you to make
Yeah.
adjustments based on that input.
Yeah.
Somebody
I
that
think of it
is-
as like being flexible, right?
right,
Yeah.
right. So somebody that's inflexible or not flexing
Mhm.
is somebody that says, I know it all. I have all
Yes.
the information that needs to be known.
Yes.
And so you can't really add anything to this
Mhm.
conversation. So you
Mhm.
might as well just move along.
Yeah, that's so good. So then you're in a prideful place, right?
Yep.
When you're not cooperating,
Yep.
when you're not being flexible, you're not
Yep,
willing
yep,
to
yep.
receive that input
And
from,
you might
from the other
not-
person.
You might not say it.
Mhm.
You might not say that to the person, like
Mhm.
you don't need to,
Yeah,
just keep moving.
but you have a posture, right? Or
Yes.
attitude that's
And they will feel it.
yes.
They will feel it. Okay. I just wanted to get that.
Absolutely. When you're not respecting, you're being prideful. When you're not compromising, you're being prideful. When you're not resolving, you're being prideful in your relationship. True or false? Do you think, and we want you guys to answer this question, do you think pride fuels defensiveness and discord?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think so the word discord, which is, when
You're not on one accord.
on one accord,
Mhm.
you're distant from each other,
Yeah.
is just the other side of contention.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's two sides of the same coin.
Yes.
So pride is fueling
you
those-
of how we're
that.
being defensive and what they explain about that. So the reason why we feel that defensiveness is because it's not that we want to be prideful, but it's that we also don't want to be taken advantage of by our partner. Can we get an amen on that?
Amen.
Right? Because you're like, you can feel yourself being prideful, right?
Right.
But you also are like, well, I don't want them to take advantage of me either.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
yeah.
so that's then where that tug of war kind of comes in.
Yeah, and you can hold on to that so tightly
Mhm.
that it says that 74% of folks who are in pride
Mhm.
will hold on to an argument well past
Mhm.
remembering what the argument was about.
Yeah. Now we know not any of y'all. We know this is not true about
It's
y'all,
not-
but
it's
that's
not
it's not
me.
true about us either, right?
Mhm.
But it's the other 74% of people,
Yeah,
right?
But I thought that was like
Mhm, mhm,
really,
mhm.
really.
That's
we
right.
will. I don't even know what I was arguing about.
Yes.
But I still am going to argue with you.
Yes. I'm going to hold on to that pride that I have. So what is the antidote to pride? What do y'all think the antidote to pride is?
So the antidote here, I believe, because if you have your guard up,
Mhm.
then they can't throw things at you and hit you. When you pull your
Mhm.
guard down, now if you are going to be taken advantage of, you're all wide open.
Yeah.
And that's called being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
am vulnerable to attack now.
Right.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
So,
And so then the antidote is for us to be humble, like to humble ourselves, to have that humility, because it's impossible to fight a good
Right,
fight
right.
unless we are willing to be humble, unless we're willing. We know that sometimes you are going to get hurt in this conflict, right? Like the other
Mhm.
person is going to speak a truth that you may not be ready to hear. And that's what I mean by hurt. I don't mean them tearing you down with their words. I don't mean them belittling you. None of the things that we talked about before, the contempt or any
Right,
type
right.
of those types of things. But knowing sometimes that when you hear the truth, sometimes the truth hurts, right?
Yep.
And so being willing to be humble enough to hear the truth and receive the truth,
Yep.
and then be willing to do something about what your spouse has communicated to you. And if we go back to our example, right, when we talked about my concern around you supporting me, you being more actively engaged in that process, right? You have a decision to make,
Mhm.
right? So you have a decision so that you can either decide that you're going to be open and willing to hear what I'm saying, even though they initially
Willing to flex.
yes, you're willing to flex. Yes. So even though you might like feel, oh man, that, that kind of stings a little bit hearing her say that. But you know what? There's some truth there. Now, the truth isn't that you never help out, right? But the truth is that I'm asking for help that I need you to give me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And one thing I wanted to point out with that is, and I tell folks this all the time, is that you can be, there's some percentage of right and wrong in every argument, right? There's some percentage of right and wrong in every argument.
Yeah.
And don't get stuck on being right.
Yes.
Right. You could be 1% right. You could be 99% right. And it doesn't really matter because you're not trying to win an argument.
Yes.
Right. You can be 99% right and still not be humble.
Yeah.
Right? Still be prideful. Because if your pride is driving you, even if you're right,
even if you're
going to have a win-lose situation.
Yes, that's so good. That is so true. You're going to have a win-lose situation. And that actually brings us to the final insight that we wanted to talk about from this particular chapter around the anatomy of a good fight. So when you're thinking about your body, right? Your body, you have an anatomy, right? There's all these different parts where everything has a specific role that it plays and does everything to keep your body mobile and everything else, right? So that's true also about a good fight. And so the anatomy of a good fight involves 4 things. So there is cooperation, ownership, respect, and empathy. Okay.
Yeah.
So
in the respect of time here, let's pull out one that jumps out to you in this area.
Absolutely.
You guys have read the chapter. And these are the tools that you need to be thinking about when you think about fighting a good fight. I think, let's talk about one of those that has jumped out to you.
Yeah. I would say ownership is the one that seems to jump out to me. One of the things that the parents talk about is that blame only exacerbates conflict and it automatically makes you powerless. Ownership takes courage. Taking ownership empowers you to find a solution together. So ownership is about you making a decision that you have a part to play in this and that it's not all on the other person. And I really think it's so profound when they say that blame only exacerbates conflict and makes you powerless, because we kind of play that victim role in our relationship, right? That doesn't mean that whatever conflict you and your spouse are facing, that doesn't mean that you haven't been in a situation where they did harm you, they did do something that that you now have to forgive them of. It doesn't mean that. What it means is that you understand that you have a part to play where you can start taking some ownership in resolving the issue, and not just it being about what they've done to you. It needs to be about how are we going to move forward together to find a solution together to resolve this. Yeah.
And for me, I love that. That's a great one. And for me, it's empathy. And when they said in a book that 90%, 9 times out of 10, if you can employ empathy, which is basically trading places with your spouse, seeing it from their point of view, if you can get in that shoe, then you can resolve 90% of the marital issues or spouse. So
that's amazing.
So that jumped out to me. And so if you exercise that muscle right there will go, do wonders for your marriage.
And and so this particular chapter, again, we're just setting the foundation. We're going to go deeper into each chapter. We're going to have all of these concepts will come back up again. I just want to quickly just recap really quickly in chapter 1, the insights that we talked about today. As we talked about what most couples don't know about conflict, is we talked about why learning to fight a good fight matters, the role that pride plays in conflict, the antidote to pride, or that selfish pride that we sometimes exhibit, is humility, like taking that armor off, being willing to be vulnerable with our spouse. And then finally, activating the anatomy of a good fight, knowing what the different parts of a good fight are, knowing about cooperation, knowing ownership, or taking ownership, treating your spouse with respect and empathy. And so those are the insights that we wanted to share. And now we will turn the meeting back over to your leader, and all of you, for you to have your discussion.
Yes, and have an awesome conversation. Go deep, get real. And that's what it's all about.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.
All right. See y'all next time. Bye.